obviously a big game. We've put ourselves in a good spot halfway through conference play, but can all go backwards in a hurry if we don't come out and play well in the second half of conference play. I mean, got three teams that are only a game back from us in the loss column. So, between Auburn, South Carolina, and Tennessee, they're all right on our heels. So, this is a big game. If we don't win, we're tied first place. If we get a win, we can separate ourselves a little bit. When we played them here, they did a good job with us. They came out, jumped on us early. I thought our guys did a good job coming back. Obviously, Ryland had a really good game. We're going to have to play a lot better in a lot of ways because they play a lot better at home. I mean, they haven't lost at home all year. I think they're the only SEC team that still is undefeated at home, so they play a lot better at home. So we're going to have to be better. But, we got two good basketball teams, both ranked in the top 20. This game's become a national level game, not just a big game in the state of Alabama. It's a big game in the state of college basketball across the country now. So I'm looking forward to it. It's one of the best environments, I think, in all of college basketball over there. Their fans do a great job giving them a home court advantage, and their players play up to it. So it'll be a fun night, regardless of the outcome. But got two pretty even matched teams going at it.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Last night you kind of spoke positively about Nick. Just where do things stand with him and his status?
Yeah, he's coming. He's been in practice the last 2 days, so he'll make the trip with us to Auburn. But he's gradually working his way back in.
Coach, thinking back to before the season started, you think about the roster attrition, losing 3 assistant coaches to D1 coaching jobs. To get to this point, so where you say you are in a good spot, how have you seen the program from the player side and the coach's side kind of grow and develop from the beginning of the year to now?
Yeah, I mean, the staff's chemistry has been good, but we still had to figure out, who was better coaching this, who was better. We've had 2 former head coaches in Austin and Ryan, so both of them obviously can coach both sides of the ball. We had to get a comfort level with that. Where does Preston fit in with everything? I mean, he's one of the best skill developers, talent evaluators, recruiters. He's also pretty good X and O coach that can. I think he does a great job with the scouting report. So we all had to kind of figure out what our niche was going to be. I think it took us a little while. We made some changes as to how we all did things there, kind of at the end of non-conference play. We scheduled tough. We always scheduled tough. So it's not like we had 5 bad losses. We lost to 5 pretty good teams, and only one of them was here at home. So, it wasn't like the sky was falling, but we needed to make some changes. I think we made some appropriate adjustments. I think the players had to figure out how to respond to me as a head coach. 9 out of the 12 scholarship guys hadn't played here, had not played for me at all. So, there was an adjustment there, an adjustment to playing our system, adjustment to playing with each other. And I don't want to act like it's not the same in a lot of places because there's a lot of turnover on a lot of rosters. But to have dang near a whole new staff with that much turnover was probably a lot. And, I think we learned from our losses in non-conference, and if you don't schedule the way you do in the non-conference, I don't think you're ready to play the conference play like we were. So I think our non-conference schedule, even though we lost 5 games, still got us ready to play in league.
2 for you. 1, can you elaborate on some of the changes you guys made on the coaching side after non-conference play? And then 2, on Grant, how important was that first Auburn game and this kind of letting him see it and kind of try to build off that?
Yeah, with the coaching staff, I'd been kind of offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and initially we had Coach Pannone kind of take the defense, kind of a role similar to Charlie's, but part of the reason I hired Ryan was, I'd gotten to know him really well through a lot of offensive stuff, and I think all summer and fall he had kind of helped institute the offense with, he's obviously the one guy on staff that's much more tilted towards the X and O side. He's a big video guy. He's been a head coach in the G League, and Coach Claunch, when I originally talked to him, and kind of talked about maybe running the defense, but then Panone's watches a ton of video, and we kind of thought maybe. So we started with Coach Panone kind of running the defense, Coach Claunch and myself running the offense, and then Preston doing a lot with the personnel and scouts, kind of like we had Brian do. So we kind of just tried to match what it looked like the last 4 years around here. Well, it's not that cookie cutter. They're not. Coach Panone still got a ton of offensive ideas because that's where his mind kind of goes, and I want him there. So I thought he was shooting. It's kind of why I hired him to help us with the offense. So, and I think Coach Claunch and Coach Murphy, after seeing the way Coach Panone and myself talk defense and what we wanted to do, got a lot higher comfort level. So we kind of went to a little bit more traditional where Austin and Preston are splitting the scouts on the defensive side. I kind of flipped over to the defensive side more, let Coach Bowman and Coach Panone take the offensive side. And part of it is, go back to when I was a high school coach, I would kind of train an assistant in as to how I want him to offense run, let him run it. I coach the defense. When the head coach is much more involved in the defense, they tend to take it a lot more seriously. When I get to decide who plays and who doesn't, playing time and, all the other stuff, and I'm paying all the attention to the defense in practice. This was a group that our defense was pretty bad. I don't know how poorly it got in non-conference. It was down close to being 100. We weren't going to win a conference championship with the defense being that bad. So I kind of flipped over there, let them know, if you're not going to guard and I'm paying attention to it every day in practice, I'm just not going to play you, period. And I'm going to be very aware as to who's focused in on the defensive end and who's not. I do think we made some strides on the defensive end. It's still nowhere close to where we want it to be. I mean, if you look at Auburn, they're top 20, I believe, in both, I think top 15 in both offense and defensive efficiency. When you look at the metrics, we're still, depending on, I think in raw offense, we're 1, and adjusted offense, we're 2. And then our defense is still in the 50s. We're trying to get our defense up, in the top 30, and we still got ways to go. But, we kind of shuffled some things around. I think the one thing I'll say about the staff is all of them are just whatever you need, coach, whatever. They can all coach basketball, offense, defense, whatever. And so they let me kind of shuffle a few things around. And Coach Panone watches more video than anybody I ever know, so he still has input on both sides of the ball, as he's always going to have, because he's pretty educated on that stuff.
You talk about the environment at Auburn, and we've heard about that a lot. Basketball courts are the same size for everybody, and same in football. In football, the main thing you hear coaches talk about is communications. What's the main thing that being on the road makes so difficult for basketball? Yeah,
I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's so loud and they're right that the court might be the same, but the way the setups are definitely not the same. I mean, in Coleman, our first row is way off the floor. You go to Auburn, and they're a lot more like Duke, where the students are right on the floor. I think it's a great environment. I think it's what makes college basketball, having, the student section with, they're rowdy, they get after it, they're loud, and they're right on top of you. So, and then it's hard to hear yourself even think. It's hard to get play calls called. It's hard for the players to communicate on defense. It's loud. It's great. I love it. It reminds me a lot of high school gyms, just with a lot more people in there. But you kind of pack 2,000 people in a high school gym and get similar setting. Now you pack whatever they seat, 8, 9, 10,000, whatever it is, and the place gets loud. So Yeah, I'd say it's pretty similar, just with the volume and communicating between staff and players amongst each other. You know what, Nick, you had 2 questions too. I didn't get to the second one. What was the second one?
How big, that first answer was great, so don't worry about it. But how big was that first Auburn game for Grant? Kind of seeing what it was supposed to look like.
Oh, yeah, I think the first Auburn game was big for all our guys that hadn't played here before. Just to kind of, you can tell these guys what the intensity level is going to look like. It's you don't really know what it's about till you experience it. So Auburn's got a few more guys back that have played in these games before. You know, seems like Cardwell's been here every year I've been here, and he's a really good player. Broom's been there. Katie Johnson's been there a while. You know, you kind of go down the list of some of these guys that have they've got some guys that have been in these games and understand it. So I think it was big for Grant, it's big for Aaron, big for Reitzel, you know, all the freshmen obviously. So yeah, they'll have a little bit better idea. They don't know quite what it's like to go into Auburn's gym, but they have an idea what the intensity level in this game looks like.
Yeah, just following up on Charlie's question. I mean, you said that Nick's making the trip. Is he going to be available to play, or is that to be determined?
Yeah, no, he'll be available to play. I'm not sure how much he'll play, but he'll be available to play.
Yeah, Coach, thinking back to that last Auburn game, where did you think you were able to find the most success, and how are you going to be able to replicate that, or what are you looking to replicate in this game?
Yeah, I thought, you know, we came out with some intensity and turned them over in the first half. We forced 9 turnovers in the first half. Now, in the second half, they took care of the ball pretty well, so I'm sure their point of emphasis is going to be they can't turn it over. I did think our pressure got to them a little bit. You know, Rylan Griffin gave us a big boost. Rylan came off the bench that game and kind of changed the whole complexion of the game when he came in, knocked down those 4 threes early. So I'm sure they'll be paying attention to Rylan. But, you know, I think we've got some other guys on the team capable of making some shots, and you know, we got to take care of the ball. They turn people over and get easy buckets. We got to do a better job on Broom. I thought he did. You know, he had way too easy of a time with our bigs inside last game, so we got to do a better job with him. And then we did a pretty good job on some of their guards, so we got to try to realize that they're going to improve, and we got to do an even better job.
I personally just want to know, what's it like for you? What kind of feelings do you get as a head coach heading into big games like this?
I mean, listen, I get amped up for them like the players do. I coach because I like to compete, and I schedule tough games in the non-conference because I like to compete. I'd rather not just run all over, you know, a bunch of bye games. So, like, these big games are, to me, they're fun. I mean, I like going in an environment like that. Kind of, like I said, some of it takes me back to my days at Romulus when I was a high school coach, and you get those big rivalry games. Romulus, Belleville, when I first got there, and there's sellouts, and they got to lock the doors, and, you know, hundreds of people can't get in, and guys are sneaking in through side doors to try to, you know, it's, it's fun. I mean, you get to compete here, and you get to do it in a packed out gym in front of a national audience. And I think your players have an intensity level about them. Kind of go back to, I think it was our first year here that we set the record for threes made. We later broke the record, but I think we hit 22 threes at their place because we started out down 16-0. When you start the game out 16-0, going to take a lot of threes. We happened to make a few of them. But I think, you know, we've had some wild swings in these games. At our place last year, I think, what were we down 17 with 7 minutes and some change to go? I mean, we're dead to rights in our own building. Our fans kind of got behind us and helped us out a little bit with some noise ourselves, and we came back and won that game. So, look, I get a little nervous, a little excited. More excited, more amped up probably than anything. But I coach for a lot of reasons, but one of them is I don't, you know, it's a way to compete, and I like to compete, and a little different than playing chess or golf. So a a little bit more intensity to the competition.
Given that you mentioned the turnover on this roster, and given maybe Charles Bediaco's unexpected departure to start, is this one of your best coaching jobs? Do you feel like you've had since you've been here?
I'm probably not the one to judge that, to be honest with you, but I'm just trying to not have a collapse here in the second half of conference play. We think as soon as you start feeling like you're doing a great job coaching, the sky starts falling. So, listen, I'll give you a really good self-evaluation of that after the season's over. We got a lot of games yet to coach. So, and if you look at the non-conference, we didn't do a very good job. I felt, we experimented with some different things that I'm always willing to try new things. Look at this, look at that. Can we get better? Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Some of the stuff we probably did non-conference didn't go as well, and we had to learn what some of our guys were good at. I mean, honestly, we had a lot of injuries in the offseason too, which most people wouldn't know because we got everybody available by game one, but Diabate and Wage both came in and had to have surgery, and Wage didn't get here until July, and then they had to have surgery. So he really missed all the summer, all the fall. Diabate missed all summer and most of the fall. Jaron Stevenson couldn't go live in anything until partway through the fall. I mean, so our whole front court, Grant Nelson didn't get here till halfway through the summer. So if you go back to what we had in the summer, it was Nick Pringle at the 5 on one team and Sam Walters at the 5 on the other team. So it was really, the chemistry was hard to build in the summer and the fall because we just had so many injuries. So, the non-conference schedule was built tough with no plans of all those injuries and kind of some of Charles left. We didn't anticipate that. We didn't anticipate Quinterly leaving when he left in the summer either. So, it's been a learning curve for myself, the new staff, the team, but I think we're headed the right direction. We got to keep this thing rolling. There's a lot of games left to be played, so I don't think anybody should be evaluating any job anybody's done, players or coaches, until we get a lot more games under our belt here this season. But
moving away from the Auburn game, yesterday comes up on my phone was National Disaster Day, and that was the day that a National Labor Relations Board member ruled that Dartmouth's players were employees, and I wondered if you had an opinion on that, or if you ever thought of your players as employees.
listen, I'm not an attorney or an administrator. I'm not quite sure what all that entails. I do know that I'm an employee here, and I see what gets pulled out of my paycheck. The players are compensated through NIL. So in a way, but the employee side of it, there's a lot that goes into being an employee. Like, I don't know, what are they going to unionize, and I don't have all the answers to that. That's a pretty complicated topic that I'm not educated enough. And if there's one thing I've learned since being here at Alabama, is probably not to speak on something I'm not very educated on. So I'm going to leave most of that for Greg Byrne and the attorneys and everybody that knows labor laws and everything else. Yep.